r/AskReddit by Reddit and chill. What is the most insensitive thing you've ever been asked? Who told you about this party? Same thing happened to me, twice by different people. Condescendingly said, what are you doing here? Once at a bat mitzvah and once at the school gym. At the gym I was with my wrestling team who backed me up and told the guy to duck off basically. Great moment of camaraderie. One of my ex's friends did the same thing to me at a bar a week after we broke up. The friend's boyfriend, however, had no idea we broke up and greeted me like a longtime friend. We partied for a bit like nothing happened, lol. I know 100% for certain he was chewed out later that night by his GF because the next time I saw him, 1 week later, he did the same exact "what are you doing here?" thing his GF did. Same attitude, inflection, everything. That man is whipped for sure. I broke my back when I was a teenager and am paralyzed from the waist down. A girl from school asked me, "Are you planning on killing yourself?" Me. What? No. Why would I kill myself? Her, it's just, if I was in your situation. Well, her life must have sucked to begin with. Yeah, probably just would have been the straw that broke the camels. Never mind. When sitting my dad and stepmom down to tell them I had cancer. "Are you sure? You're always over dramatic like your mother." She watched too many soap operas. Then the following months after treatment and a major surgery they told people I didn't have cancer and I faked it. They were there for the major surgery and the treatments. So I get asked by family, did you really fake cancer? WTF. Edit. Thank you everyone for your support. It means the world. To answer the question, yes, I kicked cancer's ass. I am very limited contact with all of my parents due to their toxic nature. I keep minimal contact for the sake of my siblings. I have confronted them but they act like they don't remember or don't know what I'm talking about. I've showed my medical records to my other family and they were shocked. My biological mother also supported me. Whoa, I'm really sorry that you went through that. They still said you were faking after witnessing you receive treatments? That's ridiculous. Agreed. It confused me to no end how they could do that. I was asked if I knew what I was putting people through by having cancer. I'm so sorry that I woke up one day and decided I wanted to have cancer just to inconvenience you. If I knew it wasn't convenient for you to worry about me, I never would have decided to jump on the cancer bandwagon. Thankfully never had cancer, and hopefully never will, but as a kid got in a pretty serious accident that meant daily physical therapy for hours on end for over a year and a lot of time in a wheelchair. I wasn't of driving age yet, and honestly, probably couldn't have driven myself even if I could. One day my mum was late to picking me up, so I was waiting in the lobby and the receptionist basically said, "Do you even say thank you? Your parents have to deal with a lot because of you. Driving you in and out of here every day. Do you even show them you're grateful?" Like, yes, I do. But also, who the hell are you? The receptionist was upset they had to almost work a full 8-hour day because your parents picked you up late. What a weird, shitty thing for them to say to you. Why did you give him the money? My manager's response to me telling her I got robbed at gunpoint in our store. I know. At that moment I just felt that maybe my life was more important. Well, I hope you like your life more than that $300 cause it's coming right out of your paycheck. They asked how my daughter was murdered. I said a knife. They then said, but I mean how? You found her, tell me how. What did she look like? Was she tortured? I'm so sorry for your loss and all of the horrible shit you've had to put up with. Wishing you the best. Thank you. My dad to me, did you get fat so I wouldn't molest you? Usually it takes more words to say so many ducked up things. That was like one of those writing prompts. Construct the most offensive statement with as few words as possible. Caught my girlfriend of 4 years cheating, and after weeks of self-loathing decided to try and rebound. Ended up sleeping with a girl who always tried hitting on me when I was still in my relationship. While we're ducking, she asks in what was an attempt at being sexy, "How does it feel knowing someone who you told you loved every night was doing this with someone else?" I'm sorry, how was it an attempt to be sexy? Apparently she was into being choked, slapped, etc. So this was her attempt at getting me into it. First time meeting my fiance's aunt, she mentioned that I was part Mexican, and her aunt's first question was, "Are you here legally?" I answered with my Pennsylvania accent, "Yeah, I was in Delaware County, PA. My family background is just Mexican. Edit. Grammar. Anyone ever ask you if you speak Mexican? No, I speak American. Why don't you just have a baby? Asked a day after I told her I had a miscarriage. After seeing so many miscarriage related posts in this thread, I am genuinely starting to think that a lot of people might not actually know what a miscarriage is. Why are you gay? I'm effeminate for a man, sure, but I am not even gay. Ugandan interview intensifies. So who is gay? I have an Arabic sounding name, to Westerners anyways, and half my family is Muslim. I am white and look the part, ethnically Slavic. I was dating someone a while back, who took me to meet their family. They did warn me that their father was terribly racist, so I figured that I'd have to endure a couple of uncomfortable questions. Sucks, but it wasn't anything new by that point. First thing I was asked as the man shook my hand was, "So how much shit skin is there in you?" Just turned around and left the flat without another word. What can you even say at that point? Sorry, nothing about Pope Urban II sounds Arabic. You can't just go around and blow my cover like that, man. Are you going to make your sister's death a national holiday? This was because my sister died at 43, the first significant loss ever in my life. This was the 1-year anniversary of her death, and I knew it would be hard for me, so I requested the day off of work. This was a co-worker who could name all of the people she'd lost, so she bragged, since her brother died at age 14, and she said she knew like 30 people who had died since then. I used to put up with her weird quirks, but from that day on I hated her, and didn't remain friendly with her. It was the 1-year anniversary of the last time I saw my dad alive before he died suddenly of a stroke. I was visibly off that day at work, and when I told my boss that was why I was upset, he asked, "When are you going to stop using your dead dad as an excuse?" Some people treat everyone else's distress as manipulation. They think that when you cry you're trying to make them feel bad for you. It's sick, but that's the truth. What did you do to cause that? After I told a female friend of my ex-boyfriend he cheated on me. Whoa, that takes a special kind of a Hillary. Maybe just low self-esteem. She probably assumed that if her boyfriend cheated on her that it would be her own fault. So when it happened to her friend she assumed the same thing. Kinda sad, really. Why didn't you just date him? It doesn't sound too horrible by itself, but this was said to me by my best friend's mother shortly after he had killed himself. He had a crush on me for a while, and I loved him dearly, but I'm gay. He wasn't going to change that, and he never really tried to, but his mom thinks he died because I rejected him. Grief does horrible things to people, so I get that she wanted to blame someone other than her son for the pain that she was feeling over his loss. But yikes on her choice of words and outlet. Yep, especially suicide, or at least in my personal experience. Both my dad and my ex killed themselves. My dad when I was 14, and this next bit is about my experience dealing with that. I spoke to my dad the night he decided to end his life. Just hours before he did it, my parents were divorced. Long term, nothing new. I was having dinner with my mum, stepdad and sister, and he phoned. We spoke for a bit. My sister and I were due to spend school holidays with him 2 days later. He said "I love you," and I didn't want my mum to think I loved him more, so I didn't respond. For years I self-flagellated myself over it. Then I interviewed everyone who'd seen him that day the week prior, asking what their conversations with him were like. Did they fight? Was there tension? What had happened to cause this? Because surely my dad wouldn't do this unless some ducker made him. I was relentless. Then I started having repetitive dreams over a week or so, where I was alerted to him deciding to kill himself. Each night, I'd fight my way through obstacles, drama, distance, 700 km, to get to him to stop. The closest I got was outside his garage door, but was too late. Every time, I took this as a sign. I couldn't stop it regardless. I am past all those emotions now. It's been 20 plus years. But in the heat of the moment I can see people saying things they may later regret. When I was 16 I got asked by some random guy at my aunt's house if I knew that I was prettier when I wasn't smiling. I've always been self-conscious of my teeth, and he made it so much worse. I'm 28 now and still hate them, but will at least smile in some pic too. Insulting someone's smile or laugh is a horrible thing to do. It takes a lot of joy away when you remember it. Got back from the bathroom at a restaurant. My mom asks in front of my family, "Do you go into the bathroom to throw up after you eat?" I've only been conscious of what I eat after that. My at the time BF and I went out on a double date with his brother and GF. I went to the bathroom after I ate and got the same question from the brother's GF. I said no, but that she should, which I know is wrong, and I felt terrible after the fact. She still hates me. Not gonna lie, I genuinely cackled at that. I wouldn't sweat it. You probably taught her a valuable lesson, or at least ruined her day. Do you really think you deserve better than my abusive ex? Yes, you do deserve better. Indeed. I'm Hispanic and a co-worker saw a random Hispanic family and genuinely asked if that was my family. My white friend was joking with her half Hispanic daughter that a family they saw BBQing at a park they were going past was her family from her dad's side. It turned out that it was. That's actually funny. I'm Lebanese and was on a first date with a guy and he went, "Is it true our Arab girls are secretly sluts? Since you guys are all oppressed and shit." My gay Saudi roommate told me this. Easy to say he didn't get a second date. Well, the human slut rate, or HSR, does fluctuate between cultures, countries, time frames, etc. One thing is certain, that there are no consistent patterns in research provided. Father-in-law asked me if my husband and I if we were eating okay while at college. My response was yeah, we're able to make ends meet and get groceries and even have a little money left over. His response was yeah, I can tell you've been eating plenty. Looks like you ate the whole damn grocery store. I was 5'4" and weighed 110 pounds. Sounds like a real charmer. Hope the apple fell far from the tree with that one. It did. Really far. But my father-in-law has gotten much better now. I think his grandkids may have softened him up just a tad. He still has his moments yo. Why are your boobs so small? Like bruh. Because you didn't water them enough. Tell them to duck off. OMG. This reminds of a comment from a co-worker way back. I was on a break with 3 co-workers and for some reason one of the girls asked why were my boobs different sizes. Without missing a beat, another co-worker replied, "That's what happens when they're real." We all knew she had fake tits, but it was still funny. I had a best friend die in a freak camping accident. A tree fell on their tent, killing them instantly. I was taking care of their cat during the time and ended up taking care of most of the logistics of cleaning out their house, cancelling out their graduate program of study, collecting stuff from their place of employment, etc. Because their parents were a wreck. I also helped coordinate the funeral and spoke at the wake. Because it was a friend and not close family member, I couldn't take much time off work, so was back at work much sooner than I should have been. All of the faculty and staff I worked with were informed that I was going through some shit, and mostly everyone kept their distance and were professional. This one faculty member who was a creep and had hit on me repeatedly came up to me one day and said something along the lines of, paraphrasing, "Why do you stupid Americans camp outside anyway?" while laughing. I was washing my lunch dishes in the public break room space at the time, and it was just the 2 of us. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, slowly turned to him and calmly said that if he didn't leave the room at that very minute, I couldn't promise what I'd do to him. I was so furious and had to leave work for the rest of the day. People can be the absolute worst sometimes, man. Who would laugh about that? That's a horrible thing to say. I'm very sorry about your friend and that person who said that. The thing that I try to remember is some folks are from screwed up backgrounds. My cube mate asked why I camped. Him being from Africa, I grew up in the country and had to get away from the city. He grew up going from country to country in Africa and trying to survive. He's probably been through his share of stuff. I would imagine his sensitivity is mulled a bit. It wouldn't justify something like ARP's story if that happened, but to me it gives a background. I would probably respond similarly to OPTBH and only reason it out like this after. When I was 9, my best friend passed away from a stroke. I was the one who brought her to the school office and stayed with her as paramedics came to take her to the hospital. She died 4 days later. It was an extremely traumatizing experience and caused a lot of pain and mental health issues. I learned to cope by giving myself 2 days of the year devoted to thinking about her and letting myself feel my emotions fully. Those 2 days are her birthday and the day she died. One day when I was in high school, I think around 15 or 16 years old, I was hanging out with my friends at the local park. We were discussing what we were going to do the next day and I told them that it was the anniversary of her death and that I might not go to school that day. That's when one of my friends turned to me and said, "What are you gonna do, mourn?" And then she laughed like it was a joke. All I could say to that was, "Yeah, of course." That was the first time I noticed that my friends didn't respect me like they did each other. That was the first time I noticed that my friends didn't respect me like they did each other. Oh man. I know how it feels when you realize the people you've been friends with your whole life don't even like you, they just sorta stand you. When I was in Afghanistan a few years back, we had an aircraft go down. In 2018, I was asked by a member of my squadron how he could get a specific moral patch. The patch was made in memorial of the crew we had lost. The guy who asked me about the patch thought that particular moral patch was cool. When I told him that the patch was made in memoriam, he continued asking how he could get that cool patch. I didn't know what to say. It was super awkward for me. He probably didn't know what memoriam meant. How do I get memoriam? Now that your father is gone, you can have your own life. Are you going to have kids? Asked to me by an older cousin at my dad's wake. His body, a few feet away from us in a casket. No, I would much rather have my father alive than dead at 63 years old. The sincerest condolences an internet stranger can give. How did you respond? Thank you, I said in response. I'd much rather having a living father. Then I walked away. How is your English so good? Well, I am an English major. Chances are, it is better than yours. I'm ethnically Chinese for your information. Where are you from? California. Number. Like. Originally. Oh. California. No. Like your people. My parents are from California. And then the long pause as the person tries to figure out a PC way of asking your ethnicity. Edit. But all joking aside, if you are genuinely curious about someone's ethnicity, heritage, culture, ask them directly. Having been asked all my life, I'm genuinely happy to answer. And I think a lot of people are as well. Some people won't like it, but this is true about anything. Not just discussions about culture. Different people have different responses and reactions based on their own life experiences. If you're the kind of person who is wondering about being PC or trying not to be offensive or just want to learn more about other people, you're probably not at all offensive and are the type of person I already enjoy talking to. Reminds me of this exchange from Parks and Rec. Leslie, you're not from here, right? Tom. No, I'm from South Carolina. Leslie, but you moved to South Carolina from where? Tom. My mother's uterus. Leslie, but you were conceived in Libya, right? Tom. Ro. No, I was conceived in America. My parents are Indian. Are you self-conscious about? Well, you can just guarantee that didn't play out very well, especially in the long term. Ro. This question would eat me alive for the rest of my life. My sister tried to kill herself and my ex-roommate told me it was because she didn't believe in Jesus. Why did your mom try to kill herself? I got that too regarding my dad. From a psychiatrist. Edit. As many people have rightfully pointed out, therapy is different. I've had many therapy sessions around the same topic. But tact matters and there is an actual conversation around it. This psychiatrist was purely judgmental. Probably not the best way of asking if depression runs in the family. How I could consider it rape because I used to date him SMFH. It's funny how consent must be obtained prior to each sexual encounter and act. I worked as a waiter for a few years in high school. Elderly gentleman came up to me and asked, is it okay to be dealing with food with all that acne? My parents had a restaurant and they hired this sweet little 14-year-old who was super keen to work. She had a birth deformity in her hands that left her with one thumb and one finger on each hand. She would deliver the plates one at a time, for obvious reasons. A rude old man obviously didn't look at her hands and lectured her on how if she wants to succeed as a waitress she needs to learn to carry multiple plates. She nodded and was polite and continued to wait on them. My dad didn't want to embarrass her further by making a big deal in front of her, but when the table left he followed them out and informed the rude old dude about her hands. All his family were super embarrassed and they haven't ever come back. Not asked to me but directed at me, which makes the question worse. My mom once took me and my sister to the farmer's market. For this story it's important you know I'm half Mexican, but my mother is a very white American. This woman at one of the stalls stares at us while we walk towards them. They had something we had come specifically for. As we get to the table, she looks at my mom and at us and then whisper yells, "What are they?" I was probably about 16 at the time, so I was especially pissed off that she couldn't even pose a rude question to me directly. My mom was upset but answered, "My husband is from Mexico." The woman then said, "Oh, so they're not adopted from somewhere?" I'm a spitting image of my mother, except slightly tan, with darker hair. My mom again answered no. Then she asked if we were here legally. We were born here and my dad is lucky enough to be a citizen. Then she went on a tangent about some illegal lazy Mexican kids she fostered and how they're all the same. The entire time she talked as if we couldn't hear her. The entire experience was very dehumanizing. I'm glad that I've never seen her at that market again. Haha, a few of you were asking why my mom didn't fight that woman. It's simple. My mom is a teacher in a small town. News travels fast. She didn't want to lose her job. I just hate knowing that some people see us as subhuman. When I was living in Japan, I met a few people who were genuinely interested that I was a US citizen with Mexican heritage. It was so amazing to have people react with a sense of wonder and curiosity instead of the occasional mildly racial jokes that I get here in the States. Constantly. What's the worst call you've ever been on? Don't ask firefighters EMS this question. Don't ask nurses or doctors this question. Don't ask police officers or military this question. Stop it. I've been legit asked, "So do you have PTSD because of work?" by a friend's mother before. I don't even know how to answer that. Yeah, it's simply tacky. The way I see it, I'm paid to carry that weight. I knew what I signed up for. I love my job, and everything has a price to pay. However, that does not give anyone the right to pry. If I want to talk about something, I will. Ducking like and subscribe.